Now today is the day that I get down and dirty here on the Just Create SMP, and well, I start to actually utilize this massive building we just set up. And how exactly am I going to utilize this? Well, dyes. Something I feel has been kind of missing from a lot of the structures that I've been making. I mean, this one is quite colorful, but we are missing a lot of different color variations, and I think color is something that makes Minecraft pop. So I would love a way to dye items a lot easier than needing to go to spawn every time, swap a bucket out, and do all of those tasks over and over again for just one simple color that I may be needing. As much as I love Kev's simple design here, which is fantastic also with the paint all over the floor, it's really, really good, I'm not one to do things a simple way. Instead, I want to utilize some of Create's Redstone logic in this setup. And I want to build a selector board that will let me select all of the individual colors. And then insert the colors in bulk and, well, wish for the best. But this is where I've already hit my first major problem. Making a radio signal board, or aka a button selector panel. This is going to be needed if I plan on having a color selector for all 16 individual colors, wherein I push a button and then the state is toggled on, in which if I push any other button, this state will then become not on, and then that button will become on. Now, in theory, it's not that difficult in order to do this. You simply need to track two separate redstone signals. You need a main signal, so the signal that comes in directly, you need to capture that signal, in which you can do directly from this block here. So you take that signal, and this signal is going to control a reset switch that resets every single button. And then after that redstone signal has triggered the off state for everything, well, then you need to use a little bit of delay to make sure that a new signal is applied to something that, well, can emit a signal. And we actually have something in Create that can not only store that information and store that signal data, but also allow a redstone signal to reset that data. And that component is going to be none other than the powered latch. By default, it looks just like a regular lever, but that's not what it does. What it has the ability to do is receive a redstone signal from the back, from a source for example, a button or a redstone torch or anything that can send a redstone signal, and notice that it is just on. It is forever on at this point. The only way to turn this off is either to flick it by hand or to power it from the side. And powering it from the side, notice it doesn't do anything to it. It's always going to force it into an off state. This side is always going to force it into an on state. So we can use this to store data, and we can use this to make a button system. It may not be as compact as a vanilla system, but I think it will give us a bit more control. And the reliability of this is going to be very, very good. And we can not only take the reliability, we can also take all of the consistency of the different redstone signals. And because we have the ability to use wireless redstone, we're not limited in the same way as we normally would, because we can, for one, pump a redstone signal directly into this redstone lamp by placing it directly on top of here. And then we can also gather a redstone signal directly off of this iron right here, this iron block. And so we could have something like this, which can carry the redstone signal no matter where it's receiving it, even if it's receiving it from this block, for example. Like if I use a lever, I think I might have one, this can carry the signal through both of these blocks. So if this is being powered, for example, by this pulse, that state is going to be on, so we can detect it from both of these positions. Notice that is still on. So with all of this knowledge, I need to use this in order to make a system where I can get a redstone signal that stays consistent and solid after you press a button. And I need this to work for all 16 individual colors. Now here's my take on redstone. And in this particular setup, I really don't want to hide it all that much. And that's because I want people to be able to pop over here. I want them to be able to see how all of the redstone functions. And I find that fascinating. And I think the hiding of the redstone makes everything just seem so much more mysterious than it really needs to be. So while I could definitely hide this and I could bury this underground where you would never see this again, I really want this to be open, exposed, so others, like I said, can be able to see how this functions. Let's dive a little deeper into how this is going to fundamentally work. So I did go ahead and extend this same pattern where we have a couple of blocks going down, then we have right in front of the repeater, which is going to receive that button signal. We need to take the signal directly from here. So up top, the way I'm going to do that is by placing a redstone link, and then this redstone link, we're just going to program it to be a tool, which is my current thing for the SMP, and then I'm also going to use a power latch in this. So once I have this, I then want to right click with my clipboard to copy the settings. This is going to be very helpful because we need this same thing to go here in between each of these cells. So we have these two, which this will be able to capture the redstone signal for, these two, which this will be able to capture, and you punch to be able to paste the setting. So I'm going to do the same thing for these cells. And in reality, we're only going to need 4 for the receiving for this upper deck and 4 for the bottom, which is very, very nice. So no matter what button we push, all of these are going to receive a redstone signal. I also have to do it for the area down here. With that done, we're already almost finished. All we have to do now is carry the redstone signal through this block and detect that with a pulse repeater. Now this is where we are going to separate this redstone signal from the main line. And to do this, we're going to set it to 1 second or 20 ticks. And that's because we are using stone buttons in this case. And so if I was to send this, this should go off at the same time this goes on, meaning this should toggle anything that is here. And the thing it's going to toggle is going to be a powered latch. And so we can test this by placing a redstone link that is linked to the same signal as this. We put this in receive mode, and then we use the exact same settings and paste this. Well, now we can test this out. So by default, this is off. It's always going to remain off. If I push this button, it should toggle on. And then if I push the button again, it should toggle it off and then toggle it back on. And this should happen no matter what button we push. So at this point, we're almost done. I just have to tile this over and over again. Now with all of this in, it's the moment of truth. Time for me to test, is my radio button signal, the Terminator thing going to work? Well, that's on. And that should be sending a signal back to this, which we'll end up getting set back up here in a second. But notice that toggle state is on, which is good. If I push this button, this should now toggle on, and notice that toggles off. And then if I push this button, this should toggle off, that should toggle on. Oh, that's perfect. So now what if I spam a bunch of buttons? Is this spam proof? Like, it should technically be spam proof. I don't see why it would, as it takes a reset signal every single time. The last button you press should always be the button that is the only one on in the list, and it is. That's good. And I can now rest easy because I was thinking about how to set this up with Create literally all night and didn't sleep very well because of that. So there's still more work to do for this. For example, I do want these lights to go on whenever the button is selected. To do this, I'm also going to need a redstone link, and this is going to go down here at the end. But this redstone link is not just going to be for powering the actual lamp, but this is going to be what handles the logic function down the road, which is going to allow our setup to select the actual die processing. So this is going to choose the die processing operation at that given moment. So whenever we select this button, that should do all of the controlling, basically locking or unlocking specific chutes, funnels, or whatever system we decide to use at that point. The way I want to handle this is by placing in a redstone link, and then I'll just use whatever tool I have at the moment. Like I said, that is my current thing on the server that has to go in a slot. And then over here, I've got all of my colors laid out. And so I will just use a die for this specific orientation. And I think the way I'm going to do this is the way you see here. I have the white dies up to black dies on this section, and then it is going to go brown through the yellows on this side. And then going up, we're going to go up through the greens into the blues up here, and then carry the blues into the pinks over through the top side. After getting the entire project set up, Thunder over on the community Discord, after I posted a screenshot over there, said, hey, rose quartz lamps do basically the same thing as the redstone you just showed. And here's where I learned something new today. I did not know what rose quartz lamps did, other than you can turn them on and turn them off. But apparently when they are all connected together, they literally do the exact thing. They deselect the other powered lamp, and whenever you select one, so long as they're connected together, they will select and power that one specific slot, the last place they received a redstone signal. So yes, I did incredibly over-engineer my setup. But even though it's over-engineered, I'm still keeping it. But I may use this for future projects, as this would allow it to be much, much smaller. I mean, this is so compact. Oh, I am learning so much redstone today. Now, back to me being excited about the other setup. Yeah. Now, this is still just the rough skeleton, but I mean, it is working. So I've got the redstone links now all programmed. I have all of my identifiers for all of the die types. We just got to do a little bit of decorating on this by basically replacing the buttons here with the actual color that they are going to identify. And then this is just going to be a light that lets you know which one you have selected at the moment. Overall, though, this is working perfectly, and you can reach it just fine. And I can spam this as much as I want, and it doesn't really change anything at all. It's always going to fall onto the last button that you've hit. I'm pretty excited about this, and there is something that I really want to do. I want to see what Kev thinks of this, and I want him to give it a try and see if he can potentially break it. Make sure that the reliability, you know, is there. And before we got here, I added some, well, notes inside of here, each going up the chromatic scale. I bet he's gonna love this. I wanted to bring you over because I have a board that I need you to test. And see if you can break it.
What do you mean by a board? A board?
Well, you'll have to see. I don't think you've been to the base in a hot minute either. But we do have to go a way that, well, we just haven't built a road to it yet.
What do you mean?
Hope you're ready to go off-roading.
We haven't built a road to it yet?
Nope. We have to go this way because we can't go the other way. It would ruin the vibe.
It's a very. Oh, look, the train tracks. We better keep an eye. Do you know also this train passes by here at like max speed, Mach 1 every once in a while?
There's a train that comes through here?
Yeah. I flew over it the other day. Like it's a, and you, okay. Well, you're gonna be a madman. I'm not, why are we
That's all good. I mean, like
again?
I used to do this as a child. We used to walk on the train track. We used to put pennies on them. And then we would watch the train.
Kids, whatever you do, don't walk on the train tracks.
We would walk on them. We would place the pennies. We would wait for the train to come by. They would smash the pennies, and we'd go hunt for them on the train tracks.
Okay. Yeah. So say it's one thing when you're born in the 90s, you get to do stuff like that, or even older than that. But any kid born after in the 90s should have learned not to do that, because trains that we grew up with are supposed to be the one moderns. It's slightly different, you know.
They look the same now as they did then. Like the train conductor waves at us. Like I lived.
That's what defines a train, isn't it?
There was my house. There was a ditch and a road, and then the train track. And we didn't have like a swing set, so we played on the train track.
What am I looking at? Sorry.
Oh.
Excuse me. What?
Yes, this is the side. Yes, it is. You have to wait. We gotta get a little closer. Yep, there's more of them. Hold on.
Okay, wait. So what's going on? It's like cannons shooting into color beams?
No, it'll fix itself. We just gotta get a little closer.
What do you mean by it'll fix itself? Those are definitely cannons shooting into the...
there it goes.
Wait.
You're just gonna give it a second. It'll fix itself.
Wait. Magic! Wait, how would you... Why did it do that?
I don't know why it does that. It's very strange. Very strange that it does that.
I have a hard time grasping the fact that you've... What started as an RV that turned into a mall with a train track on top is now a mini castle of colors.
Yeah, the RGB, which is actually what we're about to test.
Wait. Stop. Hold your horses.
Huh?
Are you trying to one-up me?
I would never do that.
You absolutely, you saw my beautiful color farm. Now you're trying to one-up me. You built a massive parking lot, one-upping me there as well. When, Chosen? When is it? Okay, show me the platform. Where's the platform? I know there's a platform. I have a certain feeling there's a platform.
I don't have ladders to this place, so I haven't. I just. Oh, by the way, there's the steam engines.
I do like. Oh my god.
Well, I do want to cover this. Like, I have a plan to make the pipe thicker, and the goal was to cover this the way that you've covered things inside of your bread factory.
This is Chosen. My bread factory has been dwarfed by you mixing colors or whatever you're doing in here.
I'm not doing anything yet.
I hate everything about this, but I love the build. You even brought my freaking palette. Excuse me.
I did not. But yeah, these are, you can walk inside those tubes, by the way.
It went, huh? Yeah. Oh, the collision.
Yeah, you can actually walk in them, on them.
So do they flip when you walk inside them like they did on the way here?
I can make them do that.
No, don't.
Okay.
Whatever you do, don't.
Anyways, I made a board.
You're bored? Wait a second. wait. Did you just... Okay. No comments. Mm-hmm. No comments. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, there's the...
Yeah, okay. Where is my elevator shaft?
There is no way up here yet. There will be elevators.
So big.
There will be elevators in here, though.
You are compensating so hard, man. Like, I can't.
I need the space. You know what? This was almost 32 blocks long, this board.
I'm sorry. I have to ask sincerely, Chosen. Mm-hmm. There's a part of me that says that this is not trying to be some sort of color station. Are you trying to build the mall 3.0 already?
Oh, you weren't supposed to. You weren't supposed to mention this. This is not. You're not supposed to. This is above foreshadowing right now. But no, we have a board to look at. So I know you don't have a jetpack yet, but
this building is so big.
Figure out how to get up here. All right. What? So this board is a color selection board. I just don't have the colors put in it yet. But here's the idea. Here's the thing I want you to test. So the goal for the board was when you push a button, it's the only button that can be activated at that one time. So pushing any other button will deactivate the other button that's selected.
This button didn't seem to do anything when I pushed it.
No, this one's a little...
So it's not your buttons I need to push, it's these.
No, it's these buttons. I know they're a little hard to see.
Well, I'm supposed to just click that? Ooh.
Yep.
Clickety-click. It's clicked. Does it stay clicked?
Yeah. And if you push any other button...
Now this is being clicked.
It deselects the other button. And I wanted to make sure it's spam proof. Yeah, I did make it a chromatic scale.
Sorry, I need to do this before we do anything. No, you don't have to do that.
That was close. It's good.
This building deserves that.
That, though, the button selector did succeed and made it through Kev's test, where he played music with it, even though it's not a music maker. Well, I turned it into one, technically. With this die selector, though, I now have to actually build the dyeing farm facility, and this is where all the redstone signals are going to come into play, because notice this redstone signal is leading here into a strong signal, which means we can do whatever we want with this redstone link, just by simply copying the signal for each dye color that we have defined. I think I kind of want this to be sort of exposed as much as possible, so we can possibly use this wall over here for a set of 8 different colors, and the wall on the other side for 8 other colors. But we still need some sort of central location for where we actually put items, and that might actually go in the center here. Or we could make like this side be the vault that we put the items in. So this is going to be like the in items to be able to get them to convert. And then over here, we can have the receiving vault, which allows us to pull the items out. That could work. There's so many ideas flowing through my head at the moment. Either way, though, I've got to get this all put into action. So now we need to start thinking about how we're going to actually set up the dye operation. And back to our redstone control here. When this is powered, this is receiving a strong redstone signal. And so a strong redstone signal can then be transferred into another setup to turn on or off maybe funnels, for example. But I think I want to use Frogports because this is still one of the fastest ways to transport items around. Problem is, Frogports are not Redstone controllable, even though they do look pretty snazzy with a Redstone link on the butt. But I think I have a plan for actually making them Redstone controllable. And this was something that I played around with last season at the beginning and then never really found a reason to use it. But this season, yes, I have a reason. And that is powering on and off Frogports by using a cart assembler. Yes, that's right. Turning Frogports into a contraption. For example, if we have this Frogport up here and I give it a name. So Tom, we give it the name Tom for right now. If I give this a redstone signal after gluing it together, this thing will transform into a contraption. And when it does this, it has been delinked from the system. So it is no longer technically attached to the chain line and it's not going to function. But when this is repowered or re-unpowered, it just flops right back into its position and stays linked. So now that this does this, I now have the ability to, well, power on and off Frogports, which should mean that we can have one central system with one name for our frogs. So we can call this, I don't know, like the processor, like CA processor. Like we can name all frogs CA processor and then have one central input that is named CA processor that sends the packages out named that. And then we can have all of our frogs that are connected to this section powered off. But how are we going to power it off when we're receiving a strong signal? Well, this is where I have to use a NOT gate. So back here, to be able to do a NOT gate, I'm going to need to essentially give this a strong signal by default. So we can use any solid block, for example, the industrial iron here, and then give it a strong signal. That's going to make it on. But we can toggle on and off redstone torches by providing a redstone signal to the block that the redstone torch is on, making it flip off. And this is referred to as a NOT gate. So if I place a redstone link on here and use this one, for example, which is the one that is active at the moment, we can copy the settings, paste that on here, and what we should notice is that it flips the torch off. So when the button is selected, it will then flip the torch off, meaning this one is now activated. And the goal is to have all of them turned off except for the one that is currently active. Something else you may want to note, does this one being powered affect the block next to it? Because sometimes that happens. Not in this particular case. This one would also need another redstone link on this block to be able to power this off. And so if I was to flip to another one, we'll notice that this now has been powered back on, which means that this is no longer connected. And as you would see here, this one would not be the one selected. But taking a look at our frog over here, if I click this button, look at this. It immediately comes and pops back into position. Okay, so that's all good and well, but your next question is probably, Chosen, how in the world are you going to fit a fan system for the dies in this tiny little space? Well, there's something that I recently learned. You don't actually need to use a fan to dye things. And we will definitely need a bit more space back here to be able to contain a fluid, but if I have a solid fluid right here, one of the fluid dyes, we can just drop items directly into it and then immediately pick it up, and it doesn't need to be filtered or anything like that. For example, I think the sheet metals can be dyed any color, and so long as they have this functionality, if I, for example, place one in here, it gets dropped into the dye fluid and gets spit out the actual color. So yeah, we can use chutes to do this. Dropping them in world actually works. I'm blown away. Oh, and also if you stand in it yourself while holding the actual thing, it will also die. So to make sure we have space to contain all of our fluids, something like this should be able to work. We have our girders that lead up and then branch over into a packager, meaning I only have to glue it like so in order to get the whole thing glued together. With all of this though, we are going to run into our first vanilla problem. Yes, I know, vanilla problems, vanilla Minecraft, and that is going to be how rails function. So I do want to have these all next to each other because these dies don't mix or anything. So we can have them set up in a set of 4 and a set of 4 here. So this means I need to place these cart assemblers next to each other. Oh, but look, yeah, Minecraft rails don't work very well. And even if I was to do something like this, where I get them connected to each other, when I place this here and I have this disconnected, well, they will automatically, when updated, force into each other. But so long as we don't update them, I think we will be fine. I will have to test this out though. So if I add a ring of rails that wrap around like this, and then I add the rails in the center like so, I have to make sure these connect. This is where I said, this is so challenging to get to like function. It's literally so weird. Ugh. And you also can't rotate the rails with the create wrench either. I think though I might have found a solution. So I placed these in their own separate, you know, little hub areas. So just do 2 at a time in the rounds. Then I can place these in. And with them all in position, then I can remove the outer rails. Yes, this seems to work. Man, that was a lot harder than it needed to be. The design for containing the fluids, I'm using copycat boards. And copycat boards are kind of interesting because they're one of the few blocks that can actually occupy the same block space. And what I mean by that is you can place a board here, and within the same block gap, place a board here. And also you can place a board here. And also if there's a block up here, you can place a board up here. You can do some weird stuff with these copycat boards. The main thing I really want though is to just have it contained on all sides like this, making it a perfect block for this. Now the rest of this setup is going to involve using a smart chute here, and we'll use a smart chute here to make sure we can send stacks of items at a time. Or actually what we could do to make this even better is to use funnels so we can actually see the items potentially falling. Well, yeah, I really like the idea of this. So that way the items just sort of free flow directly down. And so they'll flow directly out. Ah, yes, this is much better. They're performing the exact same action. However, they are going to allow us to actually see it. And the last thing we need to do is make sure we have some frogs and some repackagers. These are going to need to be powered to make sure that the product gets sent back to our receiving zone. So the main sort of setup is basically done. I've got this side over here, this side over here. I still got to get the redstone logic put in on the back, but I also, before I do all of the redstone, I need to name the frogs. And so I think I'm just going to call them dying frogs, which sounds, it's just so good. So yes, this is going to be my dying frogs area, but every single one of these needs to be labeled the exact same thing. Because remember, we're not selecting what frogs go where by using their names, we're using redstone to determine that. And so if the only frog location that is actively available is the one that the color is supposed to go to, that is where the items will always go to. Now it's time to get the redstone in, and this means a time-consuming process of going through here, making sure I copy these settings and then paste them in. And I'm going to go from left to right. This whole bottom side is going to be over here, and this whole top side is going to be on the right. And so yes, this is going to be something that I've got to do one at a time, punching the signal in like this. I think I haven't made any mistakes. I think I've got all of them placed in the colors that they're supposed to be over here. All of the colors look like they are all different. I'm glad I double checked because these are definitely not correct. I must have missed one. Yeah, of course I missed one because there's nothing being powered here. What did I even think was going to happen like for this? This is so goofy on my part. But yes, that means that this one needs to be printed here, and then this one needs to be printed here, and then just remove this one. Perfect. With all the frogs labeled, all the names in place, I can then define each of these individually into an on state. Which is perfect, which means these are technically off because, right, remember, this is basically creating a NOT gate, a very small NOT gate, by the way. This takes up literally 3 blocks. Well, technically 3 block spaces, and if you really want to be like a, 2 by 2 worth of space. But still, for the place that is provided right here, this right here is a really simple NOT gate. However, I do want to show you another example of a NOT gate that kind of gets overlooked, and I've seen several people record videos about this, and they just don't understand that Create does have a really convenient NOT gate. And that NOT gate comes from a pulse extender because pulse extenders are really cool redstone mechanics too. By default, they will hold a redstone state. So this is powered on, and if I turn it off, that's when the delay is going to happen. So for example, you can set it to 10 ticks. When powered on, it stays powered on and will power on immediately. When you let off, it'll hold that until that timer delay is reached. But its other mode is turning into a NOT gate. So now this emits a redstone signal, and when we give it power, it turns it off. So this is a built-in single block NOT gate, which is incredibly powerful. And of course it's set to a 2-tick delay. You'd have to account for that 2-tick delay, but that is really not that much. And very powerful. So there you go, redstone with Chosen. Oh, and for everyone who doesn't understand what the NOT gate means, it's just basically inverting a redstone signal, turning an on state to an off state, or an off state to an on state. With the base modules now in place, and I also exchanged these for some chests, we do have to give this an identifier of where we're going to send our return packages to. And so this is where we are going to have our input module and our output module. I think this is going to be the best way to handle this. So products are going to go in from the left side. This is typically how I do most automations, is going from left to right, the left being the input, the right being the output. And so it's going to be the exact same way here. However, the barrel, basically think of this as a backpack input. I want to be able to use a backpack to send items in, but also if I just have random things that I want that I just have in my inventory, well, I want to be able to place it into a chest. So this one will be much simpler, where the backpack one will be big and bulky. So the input chest is going to require a different name, but that name is going to be the exact same one that we have here, which is called the Dying Frogs. This is where things get kind of simple. So let's say we have the items going into here. So that means up top, we want a frog that is up top here, and we can keep this perfectly in line with everything else. We'll place in our frog, and we'll make sure that it is linked to the chain just like this. Now, this is going to be a send only frog. So I'm going to make sure that that is set to send only. And then we just need to define the address for this, which I can just copy from over here, which is going to be Dying Frogs. This is still so funny to me. And then that address can be slapped onto the front, the back, wherever. It just needs to be on this sign. And then in the back, I'm going to give this a solid redstone signal because this always needs to be powered. Whenever this receives the items from any of these two locations, it's going to automatically be sucked into the frog, and that is going to get sent out to the only available frog that has that address, which is going to be whichever one we have selected. Now, when things are all said and done, we want to have a receiving frog also, which is going to go onto this vault. So it's going to have the exact same setup, but the frog is going to be here, which is going to receive the products. This one, we are going to have to define a new name. A good name, maybe Hue Hopper. I think this is a really interesting name, but it does have to be quite small because I do want this to fit onto a hanging sign. And you can use hanging signs also, just like regular signs. You can place it on the side, and so long as it all fits, you should be good. And so we can have one sign here hanging between these two, which will act for both of them. And so I just need technically two hanging signs, and Hue Hopper is going to be the destination it's looking for. And then we need to give these a redstone signal. To be super clean with this, I'm powering it from the bottom. And this right here is basically the entire thing completed. We've got to get the dyes in, but I've also got to get a little bit of the logic that's going to go in here to send the items to and from. This being a pretty easy process, we'll use item drains not only for the packager, which I plan on using, but also for the item transfer. So this one is going to be just sending items from the regular because we're going to be sending it in much smaller quantities. So it'll be perfectly fine just using a brass funnel to send it along an item drain into this vault. But over here, this is where things are a little bit different. This is going to be a packager. For this one, we'll need a packager, which is going to pull from our backpack, and then another packager here, which will just unpackage. And so this is going to run into an item drain, and we're actually going to pull the package itself out. So this is where we can just use a regular andesite funnel, one item at a time, making sure this sends in, and then we give this a solid redstone signal. And so long as this has a redstone signal, which we can do manually, by the way, so long as it is powered and we are actively using it, it will function. Otherwise, this is going to be the primary in and out. Ooh, another interesting way we can do this is having a block on top of the backpack and then just running a regular piece of redstone through here. And I don't think this is going to interfere with the hopper. So if I power this, it should only power the packager. Notice it's not actually powering the funnel, which is good. Since we're already dealing with redstone, what would be even better is we can have an on and off state. So that way, if this is flipped on, one is active while the other is not. A really simple way to do this, for example, would be to just use a redstone wire here, place a slab up, and then have the redstone wire go up onto the slab and then power this block. which will then power the brass funnel down here. So what we should have is when this is powered on, this is now active, which means this should have a solid redstone signal. While this has a solid redstone signal, this side is off. And then if I was to power this off, that means the packager no longer is functioning, and thus this is also unpowered, and this will now work. Also with this, I decided to get a little bit fancier and use even more redstone. So I've extended this, and thankfully you can go up with slabs, just classic redstone. And so I'm carrying that same signal, but up into a slab, and then carrying that up here, and then onto a redstone torch. And the perfect thing is, while this is powered, this is currently on, which powers this lamp. And then we need to have another NOT gate, a standard vanilla one, where this block receives power, which shuts off this torch. So when we flip this, well, it flips the states here, just like so. And so this means this chest is actively running, which means that this has no redstone signal, and this has no redstone signal. And with this on, it means this has redstone signal, but this has a redstone signal also, which shuts off that brass funnel. Perfect. The other side, we can simplify things because we already have the programmer over here. I can just use a regular redstone link. So because we know this being powered on is going to be the one for the packager, I'll just make sure to identify it as the packager one. And for this redstone link, I'm also going to do the same thing here and apply it to the funnel. And this means the other side gets to be a whole lot cleaner. And so over here, this is going to be us just simply pasting in those settings. And so that side is done. And then over here, this side is done, which is also going to give an indicator. So this is going to activate. And so this all over here will control both sides. And we can see this by simply flipping the levers. You can see that also changes the other side. This is so cool. I did, however, make a mistake. This should be selected, which is correct, but this side actually needs to be opposite, which I believe should receive the same redstone signal that this link is giving off. So these actually need to be tied together technically. Just something that I realized. I'm glad I actually caught this. So what we should see is if this is powered, this should also be powered because they work in opposite states. So now it's time to actually place in the dye fluid. But first I have to make all of it. And the perfect place to do this is, believe it or not, my old factory, in which I do have still water being constantly pumped into this basin, which is going to be perfect because the output doesn't get output. So all I need to do is go into my dye backpack and take out 4 dyes and a bucket for that specific dye, toss all 4 of these in. That is then going to turn it into the dye fluid of that version. And then I just pick up the dye fluid and then I'm going to put it back into my backpack here. This is perfect. So with 4 dyes each going into each bucket, I now have all of the individual dye buckets, which look really cool. Now I just need to start organizing these in the direction that they're supposed to go. For example, I'm going to do the white and into the black, which is going to start on this side. And I need to make sure that I use the same identifier that I went here. But all of these should go left to right, same as the bottom. So bottom is left to right, and this whole side is also going from left to right. So it should be pretty easy for me to just take all of our colors and just continue placing them in. So to do this, that goes there, this dye goes here, and as you can see, you can place all of the dyes right next to each other. As soon as I place these last few buckets in, this whole thing is basically ready to go. All of the dyes are in place. Now, I do want to turn these into glass, and I want it to be glass of each dye type, which I think is going to be pretty nice, and we'll be able to get all of that glass dyed by using our setup. And I also want to select our identifiers and have the buttons. I want them to be on each of their dyed components. So now that this is all set up and selected, we can easily dye anything we need, which will also give us the ability to test our entire system out. Something else I can also do is I can make each of these frogs represent their actual dye color, because we also have the ability to dye frogs. So if I take a look at any of my frogs here, we can also see this has a bulk coloring option. And so long as a product has a bulk coloring option, we should be able to dip it into here. So for example, a test would be to make a white frog. We drop it in, that should have gotten changed. It gets put onto the chain and makes its way to the receive frog, which technically is getting packaged up, which should make its way back into a backpack. And you can see it is here. And if I had it selected on the other side, of course, it would go into this container. So flip this so that way it's going through the chest. And now, if I put a frog here, that frog should get turned into a white frog because we have white currently selected. So it's going to run down the chain line until it reaches the frog, gets dropped in, gets sent back out, runs all the way around, and ends up into this chest right here. Oh, this is so good, which means I can now dye a frog for each one. I just need to copy its name. So I'll copy this. I'll clear this frog while it's currently in its active state, set it down, and then I'll rename this to Dying Frog, make sure it's set to Send Receive, and I'll even throw some goggles onto it because the goggles are kind of important. These goggles are meant to go on my frogs that receive products, which makes sense. We don't want it to hit its eyes with the products it's sucking in. Okay, so perfect. We know that that is functioning, but let's go ahead and select the next one. So we'll select this, which should unselect that frog, and our new frog is here. So this, if we go ahead and we toss this package in to make sure this is all tested, we toss that frog, it should go through the gray dye, right? Goes in, drops the item in, this repackages it, sends it back over here, and inside of this container, we now have the gray frog, and I get to do this for everything. Oh man, you just gotta love when projects like actually work when they're all said and done, because I built this whole thing in my head first, hoping that it was gonna work. I didn't test this in creative. I just was hoping that all was going to be well, and I'm so glad it turned out. Oh, hey Kev.
I
what were you
left
saying?
this
Something
place
about me being a
looking at
bad
your
influence?
walls.
Huh.
Yes, I left this place looking at your walls. You'll see soon. And yeah, I might be copying a certain element here, and it frustrates me beyond belief.
Oh man.
Yeah,
It looks like the base of evil, pure evil.
No,
this is so
there's
good.
no evil here.
It looks like an evil vampire lair. It does.
Like
it
I
looks
said,
good.
When I committed to the
It
red,
is so bright.
I realized in that very moment I done goof.
No,
I
this
done
is
so
good.
goof.
Is this brown?
It's
It doesn't
brown.
tell you. It does. It just says. Oh, it's a copycat slab. Never mind. That's why.
Yeah. No. It's brown and it's red. Here it is just a regular full box.
Brown next to red really makes brown not look so brown. And all of this is for making bread?
Yeah. Chosen, we don't have to tell people that technically I'm already bypassed the point of making bread. Now I'm just trying to figure out how to be a menace.
Oh,
I didn't mean to say that loudly.
I thought you were holding chicken for a moment, so I thought you were about to go on a chicken arc.
The red kind of speaks against my point. If I were to say no to you, I shouldn't have chosen this color.
No, it does look like a vampire's lair. Like if I flew through here, I would be like, this spews evil. It feels like something you would walk into like at the beginning of a D&D session, and you'd walk into it and like the DM goes, the walls were red and coated in blood, and it was rusted from the wounds of the priors. And you walk in and you're like, organs blaring, just the ominous sound of organs, which is all doable in Create. So that'd be very fitting.
Oh, you mean organs? I thought you meant like this.
Oh no, like I guess it works both ways. It works both ways.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it works 100% both ways. Yeah, no.
The vampire stuff taken slightly too far, in my opinion. I appreciate that though. But
you could be a damp-pyre, not a vampire, but still be an undead. A damp-pyre. A
vampire. I wonder what I would look like in this sort of red we got here on the walls. Like if I had a skin that was that color.
You'd be gray. A gray version of your skin with a little bit of red and brown in it.
Oh, a gray version of my skin.
Gray, but your mustache is red, like this color red.
Oh, that's kind of... Oh!
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Still with the apron, though. You'd have to leave the apron and the shoes exactly the same.
Chosen. There's actually one more thing that I need to show you. Something that I saw early today that I didn't think that I would come across today. Something that requires a quick nap.
Oh, no.
Now, I know that you, just like me, are working quite heavily on your base, in your industry, and industries and stuff like that. But dude, we've come to that point where two grown-up men like you and I should maybe and start thinking about our retirement as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So I found a place.
Whee! That's a nice little island.
It's not necessarily just an island. It's more like an archipelago, right?
Yeah.
And we got that, and we got this, and if you check your minimap for a second,
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
you'll
it's
notice
plain.
that I've made a claim that
Ooh.
covers half of this archipelago. Now,
Mhm.
it would be kind of cool, just saying, if somebody lived on the other side.
True.
I'm not going to spill any more details for the viewers as of right now, but there might be a little mansion in the works.
A mansion. Okay, so you're building a mansion, and I'm building a hut,
What?
right? Well, I mean, I
Yeah,
need to build a
yeah.
mansion too. We're building
Well,
a mansion on an island.
I'm just saying, well, couldn't it be kind of? It would be
I'll
a really
try.
nice place to go to rest
Yeah,
your feet and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of nicely because what's even better is I can hardwire this with boats.
All right. So now I have a project to do after the dying section. Yeah. Any theme? Any theme? Just the theme is retirement. The theme is the end of game of life.
Maybe retirement isn't exactly where it's going to end up. But,
Oh,
you know,
you're
you're free to.
militaristic?
If you have a military cottage here, okay.
I could just live in a hole. I would be perfectly fine with that.
I don't want to live next to a guy in a hole. Chosen,
Yes.
are you enjoying your hidey hole?
Yeah. This would be. I would be more than happy to retire like this. After all the other shenanigans with Kev and his nefarious building, I have managed to come back and get most of the buttons placed in all of the different colors, and now it is time for me to place in the glass that is going to surround each die color. And so I'm just going to be swapping this out here for the boards, just for the specific colors that they are. I think that's going to look kind of nice. But yeah, now I have a little vacation house that I'm going to end up building over in Kev's area. That's going to be a fun project. And I've also got to figure out a teleportation method for getting over there quickly. Because yeah, packing things up back and forth, that's going to get kind of old. So we might have to venture into the end finally, as I haven't really done anything in the end, and set up some sort of magical create Enderman farm? Yeah, that'll be a fun project. There we go. The last piece of glass in, and now I have all of these sides, and it looks kind of cool. And this is where we can do all kinds of bulk things. Like I have all of the dies set up that I was able to use to dye all of these glass blocks. I now just select which one I want. I want things dyed white. Well, I throw the items in. Let's see, what do I have? Girders, for example. I throw the big girders in. That runs through. If I need bulk, I swap it over to backpacks. That then spits out the colored girders, goes over here, gets collected, goes into the container, and I just have them. And then anytime I need anything that's black, I just select it on this display board. This was such a fun project. And I think I might use this concept for an expansion module for this. We can have another expansion module that allows me to do processing. For example, we can have a bulk processor for washing, one for blasting, one for smoking, and even one for haunting. But for those, I want them to be fast, just like this is incredibly fast at processing items because we're just dropping them into the world. What I want is I want the smelting and blasting operation. I want those things to happen incredibly quick. And we do have ways of doing that with Create. Technically, you can make fans process things faster, but it's not about how far the fan is blowing things or how much RPM you're giving it. It's about how many fans are actively blowing on that object. I think these areas are going to be plenty large enough for that, and all I have to do is add some sort of modules, or we can even add another layer with some catwalks to get up to that, and then we can add an extension to be able to get to these, because I think these are also going to be quite tall. This is going to be another project, though, for another day. Like I said, these things are going to be quite huge, and they're going to take quite a bit of space to be able to get them set up. But today, this was quite the project. Not only did I dive deep into the redstone mechanics that create adds to make really cool functionality like this button selector, But also we learned an interesting mechanic for how we can shut off frogs, which is something that is not specified anywhere within Create or any of its tutorials. You really won't find this anywhere. This was, well, me playing around with frogs, figuring out ways I could disable them. Contraptions being basically the only way, which was really awesome. I tell you though, today was quite the project, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this, and let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on this. Did I over-engineer it? Did I go a little bit too far, or was this just the project you were looking for to see today? I would love to hear from you down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, don't forget to check out the Discord, where you will find schematics for this over on my Discord in the schematics channel available for you guys if you are wanting to put this into your own world and play with it potentially on a server you might be playing on. Now, another thing I would love to see is potentially what you think should also go inside this building besides our super smelter processors that we're going to have in here. I would love to hear from you down in the comments. Like, that is something that I really love reading. So definitely be sure to leave a comment suggesting something that should go in here. It'd be pretty interesting to see. With all that said and done, this is going to be an ever-evolving project, just one of many buildings that I plan on putting in here as our series continues on, and I'm having a blast. I hope you are too. So if you are and you're looking forward to next episodes, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. And now, without further ado, it's time for me to thank the amazing supporter that even made this video possible. And that huge thanks, well, that's going to go out to Final Touch. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so very much. And guys, I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.